If you are a man over 60, I want you to stay with me through this conversation. What I am about to share may challenge long-held beliefs, answer questions you were too hesitant to ask, and most importantly, empower you with real science that very few physicians ever talk about in the exam room. My name is Dr. Leywin, and for years I have been working with men who are trying to balance the realities of aging with the desire to stay healthy, strong, and vital. Let me start by acknowledging something many men live through silently. You are aging. Your hormones are changing. Your energy is not what it once was. And somewhere in the back of your mind, a question arises. You wonder whether something as instinctive, as private, and as deeply personal as masturbation is still safe, or if it could actually be harming you. Maybe you have noticed a dull ache in your lower pelvis. Maybe your erections feel weaker, slower to respond, or less satisfying. Perhaps climax leaves you more drained than relaxed. And then that quiet question stirs again. Could this be affecting my prostate, my testosterone, even my heart? If no one has ever given you a clear answer to that question, you are not alone. It is not something most doctors address unless you press them. And even then, the answers are often vague, overly cautious, or simply outdated. Let us be honest. Most of us did not grow up with accurate sex education. The messages we received about self-pleasure were muddled, confusing, often layered with guilt, religious warnings, or cultural taboos. For many men, the only advice we ever heard was don't. But now, decades later, here we are, older, wiser, and still trying to understand an act that feels natural but is surrounded by mystery. So today, I want to strip away the stigma, cut through the myths, and give you a clear, evidence-based picture. Not anecdotes, not old wives' tales, but solid peer-reviewed science that you can act on. Let me be crystal clear. Masturbation is not inherently good or bad. Like any tool, its effects depend entirely on how and why you use it. In 2016, researchers from the Harvard T.H. Chan School of Public Health conducted one of the largest long-term studies on male sexual health ever recorded. They followed more than 30,000 men for nearly 18 years. They tracked diet, lifestyle, and frequency of ejaculation. And they asked a central question: could ejaculation frequency predict a man's risk of developing prostate cancer? Their findings shocked the medical community. Men who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a 33% lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who ejaculated only 4 to 7 times per month. Think about that. We are not talking about expensive drugs, risky surgeries, or complicated treatments. We are talking about the natural function of the male body. This was not theory. This was nearly 2 decades of observation, across tens of thousands of men, showing that regular ejaculation may play a protective role. And that truth is rarely spoken out loud. But that is only the beginning. Each time you orgasm, your brain and body experience a symphony of hormonal and neurological changes. Dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, surges. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone that calms anxiety, floods your system. And perhaps most importantly, cortisol, the primary stress hormone, drops. High cortisol levels are especially dangerous for older men. Elevated cortisol is linked to high blood pressure, weight gain, weakened immunity, poor memory, disrupted sleep, and even suppressed testosterone. So when you climax, you are not just reducing tension. You are rebalancing your entire neuroendocrine system. Your heart rate slows, your muscles relax, and your brain shifts into a restorative mode. Researchers from the University of Groningen discovered that orgasm also causes a measurable rise in serotonin, the neurotransmitter responsible for stabilizing mood. This explains why so many men report feeling emotionally calmer or even happier after climax. The Mayo Clinic has documented that orgasm boosts immunoglobulin A, a vital immune molecule that protects your body. Meanwhile, studies published in the Journal of Urology confirm that regular ejaculation reduces inflammatory markers in the prostate. Do you see the pattern here? We are not just talking about pleasure. We are talking about real, measurable physiological advantages. These benefits are especially important for men navigating the hormonal shifts of aging. Now here is something you are almost never told. Every orgasm you have also exercises the very muscles most critical for your sexual health. Each climax triggers rhythmic contractions of your pelvic floor muscles, the same muscles that control urination, erection strength, ejaculation, and even posture. As men age, these muscles often weaken. The result is erectile dysfunction, urinary leakage, weaker orgasms, and poor bladder control. But with regular completion, you keep those muscles toned, active, and responsive. It is the male equivalent of Kegel exercises. Yet you will rarely, if ever, hear this explained in men's health education. Have you ever felt that deep exhaustion after orgasm, where your body feels heavy and ready for sleep? That is not your imagination. It is the hormone prolactin being released. Prolactin surges after climax, signaling the body to rest. When combined with lowered cortisol and increased oxytocin, the result is one of the most effective natural sleep aids available. Some sleep researchers are now exploring how orgasm before bed may reduce the time it takes to fall asleep and improve the quality of deep sleep cycles in older men. But here is the reality. Masturbation only remains healthy when it is done consciously and safely. The risks come not from frequency alone, but from poor technique, bad posture, overuse of visual stimulation, and most of all, unconscious emotional habits. Let's start with posture. Many men sit hunched over on a chair, leaning forward for 20 to 30 minutes. This compresses the pudendal nerve, the nerve responsible for sensation and muscle coordination in the pelvic floor. Over time, this compression can cause numbness, tingling, chronic pelvic pain, and erectile dysfunction. Many men mistakenly assume these symptoms are just a normal part of aging. In truth, they may be caused by years of poor solo habits. Next, let us talk about touch. Using the same grip, the same tempo, or excessive dry contact can cause repeated microtrauma to the skin and tissue. This leads to irritation, desensitization, and weaker responsiveness over time. Neurologically, relying on the exact same stimulation pattern rewires the brain. If you only climax through one narrow method, you condition your nervous system to expect that specific input. It is like listening to music only at maximum volume. Eventually, anything less feels silent. This is made worse when combined with unrealistic pornography. Your brain adapts to exaggerated artificial cues, and real-life intimacy may begin to feel dull or unsatisfying. Not because your partner is lacking, but because your nervous system has been rewired. This phenomenon is called neural rigidity, and it is becoming increasingly common in men over 50 who rely on streaming content for arousal. Now, I want to be clear. Aging does bring changes. Blood flow decreases, testosterone production slows, pelvic floor muscles weaken, and neural responses become slower. But none of this means the end of your sexual health. It simply means adaptation is required. What worked for you at 25 will not work the same at 65. That is not failure. That is evolution. So I want to invite you to reframe masturbation. Not as a secretive act, not even just as a release, but as a practice for lifelong health and vitality. When approached with awareness, it becomes a way to stay connected to your body, to detect changes early, and to maintain resilience. Think of it as a form of self-examination. Over time, you learn to notice shifts in sensitivity, curvature, or texture. You may catch early signs of Peyronie's disease, testicular changes, or fibrosis. This is a level of self-awareness that can save your health. But awareness also extends to your emotions. Ask yourself, why am I doing this right now? To relax? To connect? Or to escape? There is no shame in any of these, but unconscious patterns can turn this into avoidance instead of wellness. When you approach it with intention and gentleness, it can be a powerful pathway to healing. If you are ready to treat self-pleasure as part of your longevity plan, here are 5 proven adjustments every man over 60 should make. First, change your position. Avoid sitting hunched on a chair. Recline, lie back, or use pillows to support your body. This relieves pelvic nerve compression and protects long-term responsiveness. Second, always use lubrication. Friction is not harmless. Lubrication protects the skin, preserves nerve endings, and prevents microtrauma. Think of it as basic maintenance for healthy tissue. Third, vary your technique. Do not imprison your body in one fixed routine. Change your hand position, vary your rhythm, try slower pacing. Train your nervous system to remain adaptable, the same way you cross-train your muscles in the gym. Fourth, listen to your hormones. There is no magic number of sessions per week. Some men thrive with 2 or 3, others with more. The real measure is how you feel afterward. Do you feel energized or depleted? Connected or numb? That response is your guide. And fifth, treat it as a health check, not just a habit. Be mindful. Notice discomfort, skin changes, or new sensations. Let this time be both a release and a form of self-screening. When you approach it this way, masturbation in later life becomes not just safe, but a practice of vitality and self-respect. It is not shameful. It is not childish. It is a reflection of biological awareness. So if you are still pleasuring yourself at 60, 70, even 80, good. Do it smarter. Do it consciously. Do it in a way that honors your body instead of hiding from it. Because when done with awareness, masturbation becomes a mirror, a compass, and a strategy for staying vibrant, connected, and joyfully alive. I want to hear from you. What is one thing you wish someone had told you about this 20 years ago? Leave your thoughts in the comments. And if you found this conversation eye-opening, subscribe for more medically grounded insights that very few people are willing to talk about. It is time we started being honest. Not just about aging, but about living well as we age. Because now, you finally have the truth.